What's the dumbest thing you had to explain to someone? You have to unbox and plug in a router for it to work. There's no way this is real. Who knew we would need a label on the box to explain that to people? But the sales guy said it was wireless. That's false advertising. My granny's partner had this issue when someone bought him a mobile phone. He wasn't using it, and when we asked why, it turns out it stopped working because he hadn't charged it in 6 months. I work in IT and a lady got married over the weekend. I didn't know or care. She called me that Monday and told me she could not log into her account. I pulled up her info and said, "Well, you aren't locked out. What username are you using?" She gave me her first initial and a new last name. I said, "That's not your account," where she proceeded to tell me how she got married, etc. Bitch literally thought that when she got married all her accounts ever associated with her name changed.
Well, that's true if she married a guy who has the same last name as her.
I was in an atmospheric science course in college, and I found out one of my friends thought that all islands were floating. In college. A pretty decent one too. She might also literally be the nicest person I know though. Lots of stuff regarding working, parents' support. When I was 18, I was on my own. Most of my friends lived with their parents, and didn't understand why I wasn't fun anymore. No, I can't just ditch work to come to a party. No, that card your parents gave you isn't a magic pass for free gas. They are paying for it. No, I don't want to have a party at my house. Yes, I know that I don't have parents to worry about. Yes, I work full-time, but no, I don't have tons of money to buy whatever I want. I have bills to pay. I once met a woman who thought Christopher Columbus and dinosaurs existed around the same time period. I didn't bother explaining because my brain fell right out. I worked with a guy who kept his kayak tied to the roof of his car all the time because he said it increased his fuel economy. I had to explain how it wasn't creating more downforce to reduce friction. That the moon doesn't produce its own light. Edit, she was in her 30s. I work at a pizzeria in a place known about dinosaurs fossil discoveries. Where I work we have a real bone of a dinosaur in a glass floor. One day, a couple walked in and were looking at the bone, when the lady reached out to me asking if it was real. I said it was, and then she looked at her husband and asked if they still existed. Well, it was a fun conversation. That the Amazon is a rainforest, not just an online shopping site. We were in geography. Studying the Amazon.
Don't forget there is also eBay rainforest.
How to copy and paste to a woman in her mid-40s working at an IT firm. I wish I was kidding. Two people at work were apparently struggling to get the water cold in the sink but could not manage. Asked if I could help turn it down. I turned off the hot and turned on the cold. One woman asked how I did it. I turned off the hot, and turned on the cold. What a concept. That using the handbrake instead of your normal brakes in a car is a bad idea. When I was in high school the handbrake in the car I drove was broken, so naturally anytime someone rode with me on the highway for the first time I'd pull it. That her adopted grandbaby from Korea wouldn't just grow up automatically knowing Korean or have a Korean accent. I once had to prove to my high school teacher, in her 60s, that narwhals were real. She knew exactly what they were, she just thought they were mythological. That the fact that a laptop is wireless doesn't mean you don't have to charge the battery. Australians don't move Christmas to July just because it is cold. Christmas is not dependent on the weather and is celebrated on the same day around the world whether it is snowing or sunny. I worked for the Department of Vital Statistics for a year and a half, and have handled 100 to 150,000 birth, death, marriage and divorce certificates in my life. I'm an industry expert in this bullshit field. Birthers pissed me off to no end with their bullshit. A short form is just as valid as a long form. 2. Everyone only gets a certified copy of the birth certificate. The original is the property of the state. They keep it sealed in a vault, so they can issue you a new certified copy when you lose yours. 3. The paper with your footprint and gold sticker and doctor's signature isn't a birth certificate, it's just a memento. 4. President Obama spent $0 hiding his birth certificate from the general public. Birth certificates are secured from everyone, by the state, free of charge. 5. To that point, birth certificates are not public record. You can't randomly order mine. I can't randomly order yours. You also can't randomly order the president's even though he's the president. At work I had to teach someone how to use a vacuum. Edit, not some industrial vacuum or anything. Just a normal ass everyday vacuum. They had absolutely no idea how to use it. Not just how to turn it on, but what to do once it was on. This one guy that sat behind me at a school assembly about water was going on a rant about how statistics are BS. If like 3 people die a minute, wouldn't humans in Africa be extinct by now? I turned around, with the most deadpan face, and said, "You know people are born every minute too, right? The world is overpopulated, Tyler." He shut up. That if you wish means if you want. I had to explain to my sister how you don't get a longer ride if you sit at the back of the roller coaster. I had to explain to my then 26-year-old sister that my infant niece was not in fact allergic to corn because it showed up in her poop. She didn't believe me. Or our mother. My niece is 4 and has not had corn since she was a baby because my sister is still convinced that the corn not being fully broken down means she can't eat it. How woman, HOW. The sun you see on Earth is the same sun that you can see on Mars. Had to explain that to a guy in my class. I once had to explain to a colleague that she did not have to print and file every single email she received. She claimed she was concerned about making sure we had written records in case the computers stopped working. She was almost 70 when I told this to her, and she had been doing it her whole career since email was introduced. Literally every single email got printed. If there was an addition to an ongoing thread, she would print the whole damn thread again for every new email. I'm pretty sure this woman is responsible for at least one entire forest of tree loss. Nobody thought it was weird that her department was spending the most on toner and paper. She was also head of the department, so maybe her subordinates were scared to say anything.
I used to work in in-person tech support and had a guy that I spent 15 minutes trying to tell him how to type his password. He had it written down on a piece of paper and could spell it out or type it when I told him, but he for some reason couldn't read it and type it at once. Eventually I just had him turn off the password to his computer altogether.
How to load a dishwasher. My aunt wondered why glasses and dishes kept breaking in her dishwasher or why they didn't get cleaned during wash cycles. She had everything facing the wrong way, and so tightly pressed together that water from the machine's jets couldn't spray the surfaces. She even placed glasses facing up on the top level so they'd be full of soapy water to be dumped out when unloading the machine. Had a girl leaving my company and was interviewing replacements. Interviewed a real-life flat earther. I was flabbergasted. Never encountered one in the wild. I couldn't help myself. I blurted out, "You're joking, right?" "Nope." She 100% believed it. Luckily she wasn't qualified for other reasons. Really didn't want to hire her. That a desktop computer needs electricity to work. I was working for AOL back in the dial-up days and a guy called up complaining that he couldn't get online. I went through the normal steps until he said the computer wouldn't even come on. So standard procedure is to ask them to try a different plug, because people get mad when you ask them if it's plugged in. He says, "Hold on, I've got to go find a flashlight, the electricity has been out here for about an hour." He figured if the phone worked, the computer should also work. During a school project we had to come up with 6 words that describe us. The kid sitting across from me asked me how to spell intelligent. We were on laptops with a Wi-Fi connection and Google exists. A few weeks ago, I had to explain to my wife that the letters on her license plate were part of her license plate number. She got a ticket at her university for parking without payment. The payment kiosk makes you enter your license plate number when paying for a day of visitor parking. She was ranting and raving about what bullshit it was, so I asked her to show me the receipt she got when she paid for parking. Sure enough, she had just entered the numbers and not the letters. I don't know how she made it into her mid-30s before learning this.
I've told this story before, but I used to drive tour buses for cruise ship passengers in Alaska. More than once people asked me what elevation we were at while sitting on the bus on the dock waiting for more passengers to load. Explaining to an 50-plus-year-old adult how elevation above sea level works probably qualifies as the dumbest thing I've had to explain.
That if you are going 60 miles per hour it will take 1 hour to go 60 miles. I know there was a viral video about that, but some people really don't understand the whole speed concept. A friend of mine once told me that all clouds in the sky are made in factories. He once saw a picture of a cooling tower of a power plant. I tried 10 minutes explaining how that's not true for many reasons, but I gave up. So now I guess I know why poor countries have deserts and rich countries can pay for rain factories. Me and him both have a technical degree. What elbow grease meant. Had a guy mopping the floors at work. College-age guy, cool as heck. He came to me and said he couldn't get a spot of jello off the floor that had dried. I told him all he had to do was use a little elbow grease. Went back to my normal duties. About 30 minutes later, same guy comes back. I can't find anything called elbow grease. Almost died. Once I had to go on a car ride with an uncle and his 2 kids who were roughly my age. It was late fall and the temperatures were dipping into the low 30s. I remarked that the roads might be icy and the 2 kids said that was impossible because it wasn't below zero. I told them that water freezes at 32 degrees and it was currently 33. They insisted that water froze at 0 degrees. I explained that water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit and 0 degrees Celsius. We're Americans, so we use Fahrenheit. They were not having it and they said I was stupid. I looked at my uncle hoping he would jump in, but he remained silent. And that's how you can be right but still lose an argument if everyone else in the room is a fucking moron.